Yeah, might as well.
Welcome everyone to the Town of Brookfield Select Board meeting. Please stand to pledge the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. Reminder, winter parking ban is in effect through April 1st. There shall be no parking on any streets between the hours of 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Vehicles in violation will be ticketed and towed at the owner's expense. Also, snow or ice removed from driveways, sidewalks, or private property shall not be plowed, shoveled, or blown across any public way, street, or roadway. Item number 1. Discussion, public hearing notifications on town website.
And this is relatively straightforward in communications with the Communications Committee. They had recognized that the public hearings, Planning Board, Concom, different boards and committees that have public hearings can, in essence, utilize the website, which will do two things. One, obviously, it'll help, as far as disseminating the information to a larger audience. Two, it'll hopefully start to drive more traffic to our website for information dissemination. And we're checking right now, but it might alleviate us from having to go to, like, say, the Telegram and Gazette and advertising there as well.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it is a bit of a roll of the
But
dice.
it may be one where we only have to go to one of the papers instead of doing like two papers.
This is the case. I agree. I think we end up getting half a loaf here, but I'll take it.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I don't think we should be going to the Telegram anyway, because in this area, the Telegram's not nearly as well read as the weeklies. The only benefit of the Telegram is if you use the cycle on the weeklies, you can get it in the next day.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't read anything, so.
Yeah, so this is just a request from the Communications Committee. I don't know if we necessarily need a policy or even just an approval by the select board to do that. And then I can send out an email to the appropriate committees and boards and just let them know that that is a preferred option for advertising.
Well, even if we don't need one, I'll make a motion that we authorize all the public hearings to be posted on the website.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Brookfield's opioid fund utilization. So from what I understood, he's just asking us to take that money that we get and join that and create like this opioid abatement, or join the opioid abatement collaborative.
Yeah, there's a couple different options available to the town. As you had indicated, Brookfield is part of the opioid settlement. As such, we get a chunk of change, and we will be getting disbursements over the next several years. Brookfield's case is not going to be a humongous amount, but it is still money that is really open to the town and how we want to utilize it. There has been quite a bit of talk that Maureen has been involved in a discussion that the best investment, the biggest bang for your buck, if you will, for these types of funds might be to regionalize, so that we have several smaller communities regionalizing together. And as you can see in her email, she's listed out several different potential options that the town can consider. I believe, I'm not speaking out of turn, and say Maureen seems to be leaning more towards the regionalization versus a standalone approach. Under regionalization, you can see there's several different flavors in which it could take effect, programs, transportation, and certain other things as well. So she's certainly not expecting a decision at this point. This is very early on in the process. She just wanted to get it on the board's radar screen, give you something to think about over the next several weeks. And other towns in the area, the same conversation is starting. So probably, a month, 2 months down the road, we might reconvene to discuss this, and we might have some more flesh on the bones.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've been dealing, at least since I've been on the select board, this has been something we've been dealing with, and it just, we end up using it to like buy Narcan and stuff like that.
Exactly, which
We
probably,
should have to figure out how to spend it.
yeah, it's probably not the best, bang for your buck, if you will.
Right.
Stocking up with.
And a lot of what she outlines in her email is like valuable, I would say. In particular, and she highlighted it too, the transportation, the services, because we're in an area where you pretty much have to go a half hour before you hit anything, right? For with regards to services for people that need help, right? So, I mean, it seems like it's something that makes sense, and I know typically we get a lot of bang for our buck with regionalization. I can tell you when I ran for select board the first time, I had at least 3 people in town approach me about the fact that they felt there was a lack of awareness or services relative to, one, awareness of how bad some of the drug issues are in the area, and two, an absolute lack of services relative to that. So, I tend to go with her recommendation.
I'll come up front just to be fair. I know there's been a lot of press recently about the money that from this program that hasn't been spent. I don't know how much money we have. That doesn't really matter. I mean, we got a bunch of money from the opioid settlement. That's the way I understand it. Is the Board of Health going to manage this, or does it involve the police, or does it involve the school, or does it involve?
The short answer is it depends, and we're not really voting on for sure like where it's going. I think it's more of we're expressing support for joining the opioid abatement collaborative, and then the funds would go. I don't know how decisions are made within the collaborative, and that's not one of the things that she outlines here. So that's probably a piece of information we need to understand, right? But it goes through whatever spending or control mechanisms they have for deciding what programs to support that would extend those type of services to the town.
So I'm fully in support of regionalization, particularly in an area of small communities that can't afford to do a lot of things, and joining together and get a bigger bang for a buck, I think makes sense. My question was who's managing?
The Leicester Public
I
Coalition.
think it's the Leicester Public Coalition,
Oh,
the same
okay.
way that a bunch of our Board of Health services are managed right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
And I want to say like we get maybe $3,000 a year.
Yes, and
Because I mean, and that probably makes sense because it's this point, whatever,
Yeah, basically it's 1 to 5,000 per community.
total of
That's our size.
140,000 over a long period of time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the way they address issues is going to change over the life of this money, but obviously anything we can do to, address the problem locally is certainly warranted.
Anything else?
as I said, I mean,
Okay.
just wanted to get it on the radar screen, and I think she just wanted you guys to think about it, outline some of the potential options, and basically stay tuned.
Actually, if the one thing, if we can send a question back and get some more information on it, we would like to understand. So, because she's saying that they need to establish the opioid abatement collaborative within the Leicester Regional Public Health, committee or collaborative or whatever. I would like to understand like how those decisions would get made about spending the money and how the services would get communicated. So those would be my few questions associated with it.
I think I remember a couple of years ago, didn't we have a agenda item or a line item for 10,000 for the opioids at one of the town meetings?
Yeah, we've been having it.
So,
Yeah.
and I know that it had to do with our police department. So I guess my fear with a collaborative, right? I wouldn't want to see our money go if we joined a co-op or whatever we call a bunch of towns, I would want to make
Right.
sure
I
that.
think a couple years ago, what we did was, and I could be completely wrong, I think we renamed it or something like that.
Yeah, and the flip side of it is actually they haven't been spending that much
Right.
on it and they don't even really want to carry it. So, and there's only so much Narcan you can
Purchase.
purchase, right? So.
Yeah.
And it does have a shelf life.
Sure.
Does have a
If
shelf
you-
life.
you know,
So,
Or gross,
But should we ask her to reach out to the police department as well as ambulance and see what their thoughts are to how to move forward with this before we just to collect a little more information?
well, and I didn't say we were gonna do it. I
No, I
asked,
get
I
it.
asked other
No,
specific
I get it.
questions, right? I think it'd be up for us to reach across to those entities, quite frankly. I mean, we could propose that she do it, but I'd rather hear from them directly, because whenever you play telephone, you might get a different answer than what the person thought they heard.
Are you comfortable with having Ron just check and
Sure.
Ron can bring back?
reach out to them.
Yeah.
Chris has something here. Chris, do you want to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so, I don't know who it was, I couldn't see your face, but yeah, it was in the media recently that, there's a lot of towns that are not using the funds. And, I think, that, pretty much, took away what I was gonna say. But I'll just repeat it because it's worth repeating. I think that, that we should be cautious about, where our vote goes into, where this money gets spent to. Because I hear Lester being, talked about a lot, but Lester is on that list that the media covered. I think they have like over $100,000 right now that they're just not spending. And I just don't want to see Brookfield's money being added to that pot. And I think that, that we should be, active to say, where those funds are going to be used to help the residents of Brookfield. So like, where does our vote go in? Are we pulling that money into this into a town that's not even spending the money they already have? I think those are legitimate concerns that we should be on our radar.
Can you add one thing to your list? I know you've got a list about a mile long. Besides talking to the chief and to the chief, could you contact the folks that run Quabog Connector and find out basically
If they do that.
if they would do that type of ride service? Because they do get people to work, they do get people to appointments.
Are we still paying, are we still in that?
I don't
I
know.
remember we had an issue with it.
I don't know
That
if we
Kelly
ever met.
got, because they weren't. I remember Kelly asking them like, that's over in West Brookfield, right?
West Brookfield
I think it's
there.
where,
Right, so we were paying, I don't know if it was this, but I know we were paying into something and they couldn't tell us how much we were actually,
how many trips we were
Right.
getting in our community.
right, and I think we might have not renewed that agreement because they couldn't verify.
Cause I don't see them in this area. I see them in West Brookfield. I see them
Yeah.
there, but I
But
don't
yeah,
see-
before that, I saw them here a lot.
Right.
And then, so, well, maybe we have the opportunity with the new town administrator to reach out to them and say, hey, are you currently providing services in town? If you are, great. If you're not, we're contemplating, there's a laundry list of services that we're contemplating using our funds for. What would it take to get that type of support? And the flip side is there's a number of Medicare type services in the area that if we didn't want to go in with other communities and we did decide that maybe that's the service we want to offer or run a pilot with the money 1 year and, for people to get to those type of appointments. Right? That might be worth doing.
Sounds good. We could use the money use the money to chip into that.
Well, you'd have to be
Yeah,
careful,
yeah.
right? So it'd be one of those things where if they can do good enough accounting, maybe we could get back into Quabog Connector, but we could split the billing and anything that's for opioid trips.
Yeah.
Like substance abuse trips would get charged to one account and anything that's for the other trips would get charged to another account, right? Or something along those lines. So,
Was your hand still up, Chris, or that's just?
No, I'm sorry, that was up to me
Okay.
before. I'll take it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. All right, anything else? Good. Switching town employees' health insurance providers.
So that is,
Been on my plate for a few months now, but I do have good news. Well, actually, I'll take a step back before I go with the good news. Just to kind of refresh your memory, with the assistance of Sharon Ashley, the treasurer, we have been reaching out to the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, which are medical health insurance providers, much like Maya, how Maya currently provides that for us through Blue Cross Blue Shield. And both Sharon and I, from our other experiences with other towns, had been very active with that, have quite a bit of experience with the group trust. And we investigated that just basically as a competitive bid. What can they do for us? We've been in close contact with their executive director, Joe Shea. He's provided us with all the information that we have. And lo and behold, we were all kind of holding our breaths as the FY25 or excuse me, FY26 rate changes came about. And Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust came out first with 18% increase. So immediately Sharon and I thought, well, so much for that. It looks like we're staying with Maya. But Maya then went up
and their
19.34%.
bases were way different.
Exactly. The base was significantly different. So as you can see from the chart in front of you, if the town would switch from provider, instead of using Maya, went with the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, the savings to the town in premiums would be approximately $135,000 in the first year.
It looks like we're also changing back to the single and family and getting.
No, it's just that a network blue has the +1.
Exactly.
Oh,
I think that's based off of who's actually subscribed to what they did the
no,
switch up.
in that first.
Yeah, the PPO option does not have the +1, but the HMO option does have the +1.
Gotcha.
And as you can see, the overwhelming majority of employees are utilizing the HMO currently.
Okay.
So in creating the chart, one of the assumptions I made was the same number of employees utilizing the same exact programs and tiers. And in doing so, it is $135,000 savings for the town in premiums. And since we have a 60-40 split, as you can see, it's still, yeah, it's nearly.
It's a big break for the employees.
Absolutely. Whereas if you have a family plan, and you go with the trust versus Maya, you're saving literally hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah.
So obviously that's a huge benefit to the employees as well as the town, a true win-win situation. And the two plans are probably about 95% identical. There are some co-pays that are slightly higher with the group insurance trust, but as Sharon and I have been telling everyone, the savings you're going to see
In
on
your
a
monthly
monthly
check
premium.
will
Yeah,
more than pay for your copay changes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, we've been just recommending if you really want to play conservative and safe, set some of those savings aside in another account. And if you have to, pull from there. So Sharon and I brought it before the Insurance Advisory Committee. Insurance Advisory Committee was fully supportive of that. However, the two unions in town, which do have representation on the committee, they had to vote. Each individual committee had to vote. So the police came back and they voted yes, they were in favor of the switch. The teachers union was originally against it. I brought this to the attention of our superintendent, and our superintendent said, well, I'm not sure the teachers have the full story here. So she laid it out in an email with, all the benefits. And there was a change of mind for the teachers after Deb had done her marketing push. Yes. So at this point, now the Insurance Advisory Committee in full is in support of it. Both unions have voted to support it. So the last step before we actually make the switch is to bring it to the select board and have the select board decide whether or not they want to switch from Maya over to the group trust.
And so what about I remember we talked about the buy-in.
That's the string attached, if you will.
Right.
The strings attached is the policy of the group insurance trust is as a new member comes on board to protect the trust, because the trust is all self-insured. So to protect themselves, what they ask is kind of a buy-in, not the term they use, but in essence, that's what it is, which is 3 months premium. 3 months premium are paid as you enter the trust. They set it aside just in case we have, some horrific claims in those first few months. And it, as I said, it solely protects them. The cost of that is, oddly enough, it's $250,000. So it's a significant amount of money to buy in. It can be spread over 2 years. So we can split it up into $125,000 payment in fiscal year 26 and then in fiscal year 27. And if you look, in essence, pays for itself in the first 2 years. And then after that point, so from fiscal year 28 on, all the savings is going to go right to the bottom line for Brookfield.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
That's a one-time fee.
Correct.
Is there anything that would stop us from paying, if we're spreading it over 2 years, is there anything that would stop us from paying that, in essence, one-time or two-time fee from free cash?
Oh, are you reading my notes?
No,
That is exactly what I was going to suggest to the board,
Okay.
is that we do have still health, even after the $400,000 that was set aside for the roof, the elementary school roof, we still have over $600,000.
And that's not a
Free cash.
and that's not a recurring
Absolutely.
cost. That's a one-time buy-in to become part of the trust. So
Right.
it would be totally appropriate, in my opinion. And it sounds like.
Oh, no, I agree with where you're going with it.
Yeah.
My question is, what if it doesn't pass at town floor? What's our plan B?
If it doesn't pass,
To use free cash to pay for it?
well, then we would have to find another way to pay for that.
Did
Well,
you,
if it didn't pass, then what we would do is drive the vote on the floor to go revisit the health insurance line and put $125,000 in there. Gonna have to pay it one way or the other, and the key is gonna be the
Right.
communications beforehand.
Right.
You can either tax yourself for it this year, or you can take advantage of our fiscal discipline that has generated our free cash and go ahead and pay this one-time fee as part of the warrant article. We can do that as part of the financial briefing as well. So, I mean, the likelihood of people not voting that, if you put it in front of them, hey, are you gonna tax yourself in your base rate, or are you gonna let us pay this with free cash?
Right.
What would your
Right.
vote be if
Yeah.
you're sitting on the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I hate to say, I have more faith in our people than that.
So-
that-
so I just,
Now, I will say, we'll fight over $200 for about 45 minutes on something else, but on the $125,000 to get the insurance squared away, we'll be okay.
did you happen to talk to Maya and let Maya know what we're considering?
We have
See if
just
we-
reached out to Maya yesterday. We reached out to our representative, have not heard back. I'm assuming there's a lot of
Shuffle.
internal discussion going on with Maya. But at this point, no, we have not heard back from them. I think I know where you're heading, as far as a negotiated decrease, is it possible? I guess anything's possible, but Brookfield
Not
being
that
so
much, yeah.
small.
I wouldn't say that. I
Yeah.
would say that, if the other insurance company can do it, I'm sure Maya could. It just
Different
matters
risk.
whether they want it.
Much
Yeah,
different bid.
very,
Different
very
risk.
different risk pool, and it's not really, like, it's not really an insurance company, it's a self-insured conglomerate, and so it's very different, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
very different.
And I think Maya was playing it smart, because there are other smaller Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, I believe, has about 80 or so different towns and entities in it, mostly from Western Mass, handful in Central Mass. But they are a pretty big operation. They've been in operation for 30 plus years. And I think Maya is aware that these other conglomerates were coming out with, one, they have lower pricing, so their base is lower. And their increases were going to be lower than what Maya was doing. So what they did is Maya waited until the very last second before they announced their rate increases. So they are very aware of that, of the competition. And as I said, I mean, we can certainly talk to our Maya rep. I think the chance is very slim that we would get a reduction. Certainly not to the extent of, $135,000. I'd be shocked.
All right,
Question on the buy-in. So say we stuck with these people for 10 years and then decided to get out. Does the buy-in money remain there or does it come back?
Yeah, and I tried that one, Don. I said, hey, what do we have great claims over a 3-year period or a 5-year period? Do we get a rebate? The answer was a hard, fast no.
Just ask.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I
I
figured.
like
Hey,
the way you think.
for 250,000, heck, I would have drove down there,
Yeah.
picked up the check.
But when you, but I understand why they do it, right? Because, think of, and well, you can probably explain it better than I can, but a lot of your communities that would want to join are joining because they have high costs with Maya, and the reason why they have high costs is because they have high claims, so they've got to insulate themselves against claims.
Or even the instance where Maya kicked them out because of their claims rate. And,
Right.
that's obviously a red flag you want to protect yourself from.
And I don't think they know that, because I don't think we know that.
No, in fact, one of the things I found
We're
out is
community
built,
related.
or, excuse
We're
me,
not
Brookfield
experienced.
is too small
Yeah,
to release the data.
when you're too small, you're community rated versus being
Exactly.
experience rated.
So to a certain extent, the group insurance trust is kind of gambling because they have no idea what our claims history is. Just because of that.
Yeah.
So I guess the ask of the board is to vote on, or I guess deliberate and then potentially vote to switch from Maya Health Insurance Provider to the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust.
So I'm gonna phrase this in a way that I hope will satisfy Mr. Chafee. I'd like to make a motion that pending the outcome of the discussion with Maya relative to a rate reduction that's consummate with the rate offered, or the actual premium offered by Hampshire County
Group Insurance.
Group
Trust.
Insurance Trust, that we authorize him to make the change from Maya to the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust.
Second that. Well put.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And it's just about 7:30. Last item, executive session, not to return to open session.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move to executive session under exemption number 3 to discuss strategy with respective to collective bargaining litigation if open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and chair so declares,
As to declare,
and not to reconvene an open session.
Second.
all in favor, roll call vote. Podolsky, aye.
Chafee, aye.
Coughlin, aye.